So, rate of change. So if I look at this one, a conveyor belt is built to rise 1 meter for every 3 meters of horizontal change. Find the slope of the conveyor belt. So all I want you for that one, slope is rise over run. So if you just look at this, I'm rising 1 for every 3. So your slope is just 1/3. So it's just looking at slope as how something changes to something else. I go up with 1, I go over 3. 1 over 3, 1/3. Suppose the conveyor runs between 2 floors in a factory. Find the length of the conveyor when the vertical distance between floors is 10 feet. A little more complicated. So whenever I have a story problem, and we're going to get to some nasty story problems in this class, I always kind of look at what I want to know. So as I look at this one, I want to know what? The length of the conveyor. And if you know anything about a conveyor usually runs, and if you read it, the conveyor runs between 2 floors. So I'm going to have the conveyor kind of run like this. Okay? So the conveyor, here's my conveyor. We'll just say that's C. So there's my conveyor. It's running between 2 floors. So let's say it's running between the first floor and the second floor. So there's my conveyor. And I want to know C. I want to know the distance. I want to know how long the conveyor is. So that's going to be my variable. So usually what they're asking for is what I'm going to let my variable be. And I know the vertical distance between the floors is 10. So that would be where on this triangle? On the right side. So the vertical distance is 10. So if I look at this picture, your first thought should kind of be, if I have a right triangle and I want to know the hypotenuse, basically, we're thinking Pythagorean theorem. But if I try to do the Pythagorean theorem, what part do I kind of have to look for? Do I have to find? The bottom. Okay, the bottom distance. So let's kind of think about it. If I know the slope is a third, so I know that it rises 1 meter for every 3 meters, what will this distance have to be? 30. Okay, so if you kind of think about the slope, I know it has to rise 1 meter for every 3. So if this rises 10 meters, this has to be 30. Okay, and you could always set up a proportion if you want to. So this is 1 over 3, this is 10 over, if this is B, you can always do it that way. Or just kind of think about it. If it rises 1 for every 3, if this rises 10, this has to be 30. So now if I want to find the distance of the conveyor C, we can just do Pythagorean theorem. 10 squared plus 30 squared equals C squared. So 100 plus 900 equals C squared. Square root of 1,000 equals C. And why would I not have to put plus or minus in this case? Yeah, it can't be negative. I'm talking about the length. I want the length of the conveyor. It can't be negative, so it's just square root of 1,000. And that would simplify down to 10 square root of 10. Okay, you could rewrite this as 100 times 10. Square root of 100 is 10. So 10 square root of 10 equals C. And you could always convert it. I don't really care if you convert it to decimal. 31.623 feet. So if they're talking about distance, maybe I would, you're not going to tell someone that conveyor is 10 square root of 10 feet long. So kind of look at what they're asking for. Okay, any questions so far? Okay, let's go ahead and look at example 3. I want to sketch the line of each graph. So if I look at these, let me look at this real quick. So if I look at this, first of all, just by looking at them, why do I know these are both going to be lines? Kind of talked about it yesterday. Just by looking at them. Anybody know? So if I just look at those two equations, why do I know they're both going to be linear? Do what? They are look at your exponents. So if you look at your exponents, you can kind of easily decide what the graph's going to look like. The exponents on x and y are both 1. So if both x and y have an exponent of 1, it's always linear. Now if one of them would be squared, it would be a what? Parabola. If both of them are squared, if x and y are squared, I'm thinking circle, or it could be an ellipse, or maybe a hyperbola, which we won't do much. Those are conics. But you can kind of look at your exponents to kind of see what it's going to look like. So if I look at example 3, if I want to sketch the graph of this, my first thing is probably to try to get it in slope-intercept form, because that's the easiest way to graph these. First thing to do that, probably do what? Yep, let's distribute the 3. So 3x plus 12. Let's add the 1 to both sides. So y equals 3x plus 13. Okay, my slope is 3. My y-intercept is 13. It's a positive slope, so I'm thinking to myself my line should be going uphill. So if I graph this, graph a y-intercept of 13, so go up 13. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Just kind of guess where it's at. That's fine. And then my slope is 3. So 1, 2, 3, left 1. You can graph it like that. Something like that. Okay. Any questions on that? Okay. Just real quick, let me go over this. If on the homework, it's going to ask for the general form. So just FYI, this is slope-intercept form, just to kind of refresh your mind. Okay, when it asks for the general form, you might have seen it as standard form. That's how algebra, I think, puts it. It's y equal, or ax plus by equals c. That's general form. Actually, no, general form looks like ax plus by plus c equals 0. That's general form. Sorry. Wrong one. I looked at it too quickly. That's general form. So if I look at it in general form, basically all you need to do is get your x, your y, and your constant on one side. Basically get it equal to 0. So if I was looking at this one, all I would need to do is subtract the 3x. We have the y there. Subtract the 13. Set it equal to 0. So it's not really any harder to get it in general form, but I just want to touch on that. There's some of the homework where it says get in general form. So basically just get everything on one side. So basically, if I look at B, look at that transition. If I look at B, it's already in general form because I have x, y, and the constant on the left side. So this would already be in general form. I don't really like general form a lot because it's hard to graph when it's in general form. So that's why I get it in slope-intercept form. So let's go ahead, slope-intercept form. First thing I would do would be what?
Take the x and 6.
Yep, subtract the x, subtract the 6 to the left side, or to the right side. So 2y equals negative x minus 6. Divide by 2. So y equals negative 1/2 x minus 3. So just kind of working between the two forms, general form, slope-intercept form. And if I would graph this real quick, down 3, 1, 2, 3. My slope is a negative 1/2, so I can go up 1, left 2, or down 1, right 2. It doesn't really matter. And there's my line. Okay. I know I'm kind of going fast with that. Are we good with that stuff? Okay. The last thing we're going to do for P2 is parallel and perpendicular lines, which you should also be somewhat familiar with. Parallel lines have what kind of slope? Yep, same slope. So parallel lines have the same slope. And perpendicular lines have negative reciprocal slope. So a refresher from algebra. Okay, I spilled my coffee all over. It's not a good day. Okay, so if I look at example 4, I want to write the general form. So we're thinking, okay, get everything on one side, get it equal to 0. I want to write the general form of the equations of the line through the point that is parallel to the given line and perpendicular to the given line. So 2 parts on this one. First thing I need to do is I need to try to find my slope. So the first thing I need to look for is I need to find my slope, because once I find my slope, that kind of helps me say, okay, if it's perpendicular, it has the negative reciprocal. If it's parallel to this line, it has the same slope. So if I look at what they give me, what do I have to do to find the slope? Yeah, get this equation in slope-intercept form. It's currently in standard form, so get it in slope-intercept form. So 4y equals 8 minus 7x. Divide by both sides by 4. So y equals 2x minus 7/4 x. So the first thing we want to look for is we want to look for the slope, because once I find the slope, that kind of helps me get started with the parallel line equation and the perpendicular line equation. So if I look at part A, I want the parallel line. I want the equation of the line that's parallel to this line. So what's going to be the slope of the parallel line? Negative 7/4. So the parallel line is going to have a slope of negative 7/4. The slope of this line is negative 7/4. Parallel has the same, so that's also going to be a negative 7/4. So now it kind of goes back to what we did earlier. I give you a slope. I give you this ordered pair. I want it in general form, but I kind of like getting it in slope-intercept and then moving things over. So if I want to find B, I would do what? Plug in x and y, plug in your slope, let's find B, and then we can move it around to get it in general form. So y equals m times my x plus b, similar to what we did yesterday. So plug in your x, plug in your y, plug in your slope, find b, and then once I get it in slope-intercept form, we can move it around to get it equal to 0, to get it in general form. So negative 1/2 fractions, negative 7/4 times 5/6, negative 35 over 24 plus b. Add 35/24 to both sides. I'm adding fractions, so I need common denominator. So negative 1/2 is the same as negative 12/24. Now they have common denominators, so I can just add the top. Negative 12 plus 35, 23 over 24 equals b. This has more work. It's just kind of lots of step to it. So if I write it in standard form, or slope-intercept form, y equals negative 7/4 x plus 23 over 24. But I want it in general form, so I need to move everything over to the left side. So positive 7/4 x plus y minus 23 over 24 equals 0. Now just be careful, in general form, a, b, and c have to be real numbers. So your numbers out front, your coefficients, a, b, and c, they can't be fractions. So if you end up with fractions, we have to get rid of them. So what can I do to everything to get rid of the fraction? Remember? I can multiply everything by what? So what can I multiply every term by to get rid of the fraction? 24. So if I multiply everything by 24, because I need to get whole numbers. 24 times 7 over 4 will leave me what? The 24 and the 4 will cancel, so it'll leave me a top. On the top will leave me a 6. 6 times 7, 42. So it'll leave me 42x plus 24y. Constant will be a what? Negative 23, and then 24 times 0 is a 0. So just be careful with general form. General form has to be whole numbers, not fractions. Okay, any questions on that? Okay, that was part of it. I still need to put it in perpendicular. Still need to write the perpendicular equation. So the difference is my slope for the perpendicular is going to be what? The perpendicular slope is going to be the negative reciprocal. So it's 4/7. The negative becomes a positive. You flip it, so it just is 4/7. And then it's the same process from there. Plug in your y, x, and b, or y, x, and m. So negative a half equals 4/7 times 5, 6 plus b. Okay, solve for b. So let's go ahead. We can reduce a little bit. 4/7 times 5, 6. 4 will become a 2. 6 will become a 3. So I'm left with 10 over 21 plus b. Let me know if you have questions. Subtract 10 over 21. So I'm going to have to change both of these to get common denominators. Common denominator between 2 and 21 will be 42. So this will be a negative 21 over 42. If I multiply top and bottom by 21. And the bottom one will look like a negative 20 over 42. I'm subtracting, so I add, keep the negative. So negative 41 over 42 equals b. Plug it all in. Y equals 4/7 x minus 41 over 42. Plug in your slope and your b. I want it in general form. So you can either multiply everything by 42 now, or you can multiply it later. It doesn't matter. So if I multiply everything by 42 now, because I need to get rid of the fractions to put it in general form, that'll just give me 42y equals 7 and 42. So 42 will become a 6 when they cancel out. So 24x minus 42, or 41. And then move things around. So negative 24x plus 42y plus 41 equals 0. Okay. Any questions on that stuff? Do you feel pretty good with that stuff? Yeah, maybe. Okay. The fractions make it harder, but it's still done the same way. You've still literally done it since Algebra 1. So let's go ahead and I think I'm going to give you about 20 minutes to start the homework for P2, and then the last 15 minutes I'll start P3 notes. That'll be the plan. So that way you don't have things to keep track of. So now that we're thinking about P2, let's work on the homework, and then we'll start P3. Okay? So homework for P2, if you want to get out your homework sheet, see if I'm taking any off as we go through.